Shah Rukh was already halfway a legend then. He was already a great by then. He had some of the greatest success stories in Hindi cinema of all time. So you can't compare like that. That was an amazing experience to see that kind of madness around him. There are very few people who have that kind of cult around them, like Rajni sir. I think Ajith is one of them. And now the third season is all about the rise, the reclaiming of that, rising like a phoenix and reclaiming his power. He's a phenomenal biker. So we do talk about things in common like that. And he's just all around one of the nicest guys I know in the Indian film industry.
Hi guys, this is Himesh and welcome to Pink Villa. It has been 19 years since he made an entry as Chandu and followed it up as Aditya in Satya. And ever since then, he has done so many films, diverse films, winning over the audience. It's a pleasure having you here, Vivek. Welcome to Pink Villa.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Himesh. Thank you so much.
To start with, we all know how you backed company. You have spoken about it multiple times. But how did life change after that Friday, the release of the film?
Well, yeah, I'll give you a small anecdote and maybe that'll answer it. Himesh, when Company was not released, when it was about to get released April 12th, I was shooting for Satya at the time. And when Satya's shooting started, nobody knew me. Everybody knew Rani Mukherjee. She was a star. So every time Rani was there was security on set. And, there was a lot of things like that. Yeah. There was me, there was nobody. So I was used to it. I remember we were guerrilla filmmaking because we didn't have a budget. So there were times where we were shooting 22 hours on the railway stations. And I used to sleep on the railway bench only. On the railway stations at that time. And whenever I used to get a break in between, I used to take a little nap and then get back to shooting. Yeah. So we shot Satya like that, fully guerrilla. I used to carry equipment. I used to walk freely. There was no problem. Then one day, April 14th, we were shooting on that Sunday.
Okay.
12 ko company release hui thi. And you know where Getty Galaxy Cinema in Bombay is?
Of course, yeah, Bandra, yeah.
So Bandra, there's a Fatak. It's called Bandra Junction, Bandra Fatak, where you can cross, right, from the railway colony. Yeah. So we were shooting, me and Rani were shooting, and I'm supposed to chase her saying, Suhani, what happened? Our parents met, kya baat hui? And there's a whole argument that happens between me and her. So it was on Sunday morning, itna sa shoot baki tha. We said, chalo, isko khatam kar lete hain. We started shooting. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. Suddenly around the afternoon, maybe around 12:31, suddenly 7-8 guys came. I thought they must be Rani's fans. And they started shouting, Chandu bhai, Chandu bhai, Chandu bhai. I was like, Arey, wow, yeah, I started feeling damn nice. So I went and, shook hands, kaise lagi picture, achhi lagi, this, that, the other. It was fine. Within maybe an hour, there must have been 2,000 to 3,000 people. Oh, and they were all shouting, Khalas, Khalas, Chandu bhai, company. They were shouting like that. And it was like crazy. I had never seen a crowd like that for me in my life.
And, I remember I was very young when Company released, followed by, I think Satya also released in the same year. And I remember reading in the papers when Satya released, entire media labeled you as the new Shah Rukh Khan because back then, jo bhi romance karta tha, wo Shah Rukh Khan ban jata tha. And it was someone who was just 2 films old. How did you deal with that pressure? Because, he had a legacy of 9 years and you were just 2 films old at that point of time.
Right. No, I think he had a longer legacy than that. Shah Rukh was around for a really long time. I only came in 2002. Yeah. And I grew up watching him. I was a huge fan of his. So of course, these are things that happen. You don't take them seriously. You try not to let these things affect your head because, people will make comparisons and stuff like that. But that's not the healthiest thing for you either. You need yourself to know that you're an actor and you need to focus on your roles in your career and build your own repertoire, build your own, brand in a way, rather than, be compared or be labeled to somebody who's already, Shah Rukh was already halfway a legend then. He was already a great by then. He had some of the greatest success stories in Hindi cinema of all time. So you can't compare like that. So I never took it seriously. I just laughed it off.
And of all the films that you have done all through these years, which is the most special except Company? Because I know first will always be special, but apart from Company.
The different films have had different challenges for me. So Shootout at Lokhandwala was very special in its own way, because here there was this larger than life character and I wanted to play it real and not filmy. Yet they had to be, everything was larger than life, but yet the intensity had to make it all real. So that was a very difficult crafting that I had to do of that role. Something similar with Satya, it was very difficult because Satya suddenly had to be you, normal, real. There was no acting. You had to feel it, and you had to connect with Adi Sehgal, and you had to be Adi Sehgal in that moment.
Yeah.
There was no style that you could hide behind, or attitude or language, nothing. It was just real. So it was a very bearing your soul kind of role. Similar stories, whether it was Omkara, for example. Recently, when I played Lucifer, going into Malayalam cinema, which is something that's so refined, and their levels of performance and cinema and filmmaking are really, really high levels. I think some of their cinema is the best cinema in India, has been for the last 6-7 decades. To go there and then to be pitted against the one and only Mohanlal, who's considered one of the finest actors India has ever produced. And then to be able to hold your own in a complex character that I did like Bob. So to me, those are the interesting challenges as an actor, that to go into somebody else's language.
And I was going to ask this question later in the segment, but since you spoke about South Indian cinema, you also did Vivegam with Thala Ajith, then you have done a film with Ram Charan as well. What draws you towards that space, or what drew you towards those two films?
But to be honest with you, initially it was just a trip. I said I want to do one film in every one of the southern languages, right? That was just a trip initially. And I had done only Rakta Charitra in Telugu. So then I jumped in and I said, okay, come on, let's do one. The Vivekam happened. Then after that, my Telugu film happened. After that, we had the Kannada film that I did, and then I did Lucifer. So I had fun.
Correct. And we have seen the kind of fanfare that Vivegam had before its release, because Ajit is such a big star over there. What sort of love did you receive from his fan over there? What was the experience like, when you were working with him and experiencing that different world of fandom which doesn't exist in Bollywood?
Yeah. That was a trip actually, because you see in the film, we refer to each other as Nanba. Nanba is Tamil equivalent of Mere Yaar, Mere Dost, Mere Bhai. It's kind of like that. It's a very sweet endearment that you call each other, right? And somewhere we connected even in real life like that. So Ajit and I became damn close. We became friends. We started hanging out together. We spent a lot of time together during the shoot. So we connected very well. We became really close. And that started reflecting even on screen and off screen with the fans. When I went down to Chennai to promote the film and talk about it, it was crazy because people just started shouting out Nanba, Nanba, Nanba. That was an amazing experience to see that kind of madness around them. There are very few people who have that kind of cult around them, like Rajni sir. I think Ajit Anna is one of them.
Correct. And you have acted in all genres of films, be it action, be it comedy, be it even a dark space. I would say a character like Company, or say Shootout at Ola, is very dark as a character. So what is that world of cinema which is most difficult for you as an actor from all these?
I think the most difficult kind of cinema, the most difficult kind of portrayal is where it's extremely real. Where you're playing a very real character. Where if you act a little bit also, it lagega in that world ki, "Arey, ye acting kar raha hai. Acting kyun kar raha hai?" You have to be able to immerse the audience into a portrayal and make them feel that you're not acting. The larger than life characters are difficult to make interesting. How do you keep making them different? How do you make a Maya Dolas different from a Vikrant Dhawan? How do you play? Vikrant Dhawan is as much of a gangster, but he's suave, he's smooth. He runs the world in Inside Edge. So there's an interesting variation to his graft, which I've done now in season 3, which will come out. How there's a whole change. There's a sea change to that character. He's so much larger than life. And then what he goes through in season 2, how it brings him down to, becoming this whole new person. There's a rebirth. There's an evolution of this character again. So to me, those kind of characters are fun to play. That have a lot of uniqueness, that have a lot of colors, that have a lot of variation. And I can keep, playing with a very fine instrumentation of the performance. And I'll take it here.
And Inside Edge, like you said, if you look at season 1, season 2, and now season 3, all 3 seasons, though you're playing the same guy, it is actually going to be different characteristics, because the first one you were like the king, second one you are down and out,
right.
Now third one is going to be the rise. So how do you approach that space when you're playing the same character with different characteristics, basically?
Firstly, Himesh, I'm damn impressed with the way you've got it bang on. So I love how you've cut the whole graph. So when we started doing season 1, we knew where this character needed to go. So it's a bit of a mix between the actors, the creator of the show, and also the writers. Right? We all sit together and we say, okay, how do we make it more interesting? How do we make him different? And then we jam. So in the first season, I remember we jammed for 20 days in my house. Just to write the character arc and to bring him to a certain place. And they would feed me the material, and I would perform for all the team members right there and then live. Just do the scenes out, and then we would calibrate from there. So it was a great, fun, collaborative experience. But the second season, you understood, this is where the graph is. It's a down. And now the third season is all about the rise. The reclaiming of that. Rising like a phoenix and reclaiming his power. And that's always exciting to play. So I'm super excited about season 3.
And Vivek, I was just reading about your career, 19-year career, and I came across one thing which I was not aware about. You were probably the first choice for Munnabhai, for playing the Munnabhai.
That is right, yes.
And now that we look back, it is such a cult character. Do you feel how I wish I could have done that?
So Hamish, it's a strange kind of duality, right? So for whatever reasons, I couldn't do Munnabhai. After it's become what it is, there are some roles that you watch an actor play and you feel that this role was written for that actor. That no matter how much you wanted to be that role, that actors performed it so well that you feel like nobody can do this better. And Baba Bhai is just the guy as Munnabhai. I think it's his most iconic role. And I don't think anybody can do it better than him. And to watch him play it like that, the way he did the Jadoo Ki Jappi, the way he made it his own, I think it's on another level. So I don't think anybody else can ever replace him as Munnabhai.
And anything happening down south, or right now you're concentrating on Bollywood?
Maybe. There's actually had no plans, but there's something that's a fascinating story that's just come out of nowhere, and now I'm trying to adjust my days to see if I can fit that in, because just the character, the role, and the setup is so exciting that I may want to take a little bit of a detour and go down south, finish that, and then come back to India.
Correct.
I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying being able to act beyond language.
And one last question. After Vivekam, do you discuss work with Thala Ajith? Is there anything happening with him?
Well, he and I have had lots of chats before. In fact, he's such a lovely guy. He's almost like an elder brother. He'll reach out and say, I've done this film. It'll look really good on you in Hindi. You should do this film in Hindi. Remake this in Hindi. So he does that. He has those conversations with me. We do talk about, he's a phenomenal biker. So we do talk about things in common like that. And he's just all-around one of the nicest guys I know in the Indian film industry. So great guy to keep connected with. And to me, he's still like an elder brother figure. And one of the nicest guys. Even his wife Shalini, who was the original Suhani in Satya, the Alai Paya there, the original was her, Shalini. And she's a brilliant person too. So lovely family, and I stay in touch, and we have discussed stuff. But I guess, over there, when it matures, it matures.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vivek. It has been lovely talking to you, and looking forward to 19 more years of entertainment.
Thank you, Himesh. What a wonderful interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.